like failure is just a data point. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I'm not trying to romance failure, but it is the recipe in order to success. And understand that failure is a data point. The highs aren't going to be as high as the lows aren't going to be as lows. And as you get used to and becoming more akin to failure, you're going to realize that that new comfort zone of working in failure is where you're going to have probably your biggest growth, your biggest epiphanies, your biggest movements.
Well, today on Afternoon Tea, I am very, very excited to have the Jayesh Parmar joining us. Let me just set this up before we get into the details, the nitty-gritty and the good stuff. Originally hailing from Saskatoon, Jayesh is the former CEO, co-founder of Pika.com, which was acquired by Eventbrite in 2018. Jayesh is an active investor, a lifelong student, and has jumped back into being a co-CEO, co-founder, very brave of you, of Gunky, the world's sexiest tongue scraper. I have to say it like that, don't I? Giving back to the community and those in need has always been at heart of what drives Jayesh's passion. Alongside his mission is to build profit and purpose companies with team cultures that are immersed in giving, cheekiness, like that, fun, and adventure. Gunky incorporates his Indian roots and the Vedic, I hope I said that right, system of medicine while embracing his teaching background and love of helping children. More importantly, Jayesh believes that profit is not a standalone benefit, but rather a shared responsibility to serve those with fewer means. And I agree, Jayesh. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me.
Well, it is a true honor of mine, and I mean, Pikatic. We'll start with Pikatic. We'll move into the new realm of excitement that you've started with. But Pikatic for me was always something that I've always been really proud of as a Vancouver entity. Let's just say I remember we spoke. I don't know if you remember this, but you and I actually traded emails about 6 years ago for the first Van Hacks because you sponsored as a ticketing host of the very first Van Hacks, and I don't know if I thanked you enough, but thank you for being part of that.
Well, I mean, the thank you is maybe going on the other way. I mean, it takes community to go out there and build a startup, and you know how difficult these things are to go, and especially those early adopters, so those extreme users, embracing us is it's what made us to what we are. So actually, thank you.
Love it. We'll tell you what then. Let's just go with the blunt question. Tell me about Pikatic. Give me the history, the setup of Pikatic.
Well, yeah, I mean, most people don't know this, but it all started back when it was 20 years old and I was in University of Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. My buddy and I, his name is Dr. Avinashi. He's an optometrist in North Vancouver right now. We're wonderfully talented, but back when we were 20 years old, we were both in Saskatoon, and we were both working sidewalk sale. I was working in a jean store. He was working in Le Chateau that's now gone. That's how old we are. In any regards, sidewalk sale, it's glorified. Security people were 20, and just making sure that really nobody steals anything. So we got all day to really talk to each other, and we started banging our heads around. And the problem that we wanted to solve at that time, again, mind you, we're 20. Our priorities were a little bit different. I'm proud to say that we're a little bit more intelligent, and our EQ's gone up, I hope. But at that time, we wanted to go out there and meet girls, get paid, and party. And solve that nut and that problem. And so what we in BDC, Business Development Bank Canada, was given a business loan. And at that time, we decided to go out there and become DJs. Fast forward, we end up buying a whole bunch of DJ equipment from pawn shops. We got the loan, we paid it back. All the colleges hired us. Fast forward a little bit more, we started putting on our own events. Fast forward a little bit more, it was like, that was in 2008. It was really difficult to go out there and chase people for money for tickets. We didn't know exactly, are we going to lose money? Are we going to, it was just this whole cart horse situation, and our cash flow was always tight. And so we just, we wanted to solve it out of a pure forcing function of we wanted to scratch our own itch. And that's how Pikatic started. And so we got a lot of, I think these are the words I'll start using, but like we had a minimal viable product, we had product market fit. We then expanded, and then, we got that adoption. And then we realized that we need to go out there and expand. And my co-founder at that time, he was my buddy, which is Pav, the doctor. He went to optometry school, and then I moved to San Francisco. Went to an accelerator, moved to Toronto, went to an accelerator, went to New York, went to accelerator to learn all the things that they don't really teach you at that time in school, and was able to raise money and go out there and scale, penetrate the world, and the rest is history.
Well, okay, so we've gone from Saskatchewan to San Francisco to Toronto to New York, and now Vancouver. Why was Vancouver the right city for Pika then?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is we got pregnant in Manhattan. We were living in Manhattan. My wife and I were there, and the staunch Canadian. I'm a true proud Canadian. The thing that my wife and I, and we're both from Saskatchewan. She's originally from Modena. I'm from Saskatoon. We wanted our child, his name is Jai. He's now 8 years old, which is crazy. Thank you. But we wanted him to be Canadian. But also there's like, there's a blog that I wrote, is how the village, and I pushed it out maybe 2013, how the valley can kill your startup. And what I realized is that there's a lot of competitive advantages of being in Canada. And these are the things that, I mean, they still hold true. One is that the greenback versus the CAD, there's maybe a 30% pop that you get there. The talent is phenomenal. Attracting new talent into Canada with the express entry visa, like that's phenomenal. We don't have the executive chef needs that you end up having, at the Googles and the Facebooks. I call them the heated toilet seats. Little things like healthcare, we just don't have to really worry about. We can, so our use of funds gets excelled, and then you put SHRED and IRAP and all these government aspects on there. It was just really, really advantageous for us to really go out there and have more swings at the bat and be in Canada. So if even if I had to do it right now, I'd do it back in Canada.
Fantastic. But why Vancouver over, say, Regina or Saskatoon?
Yes. Well, I mean, the other thing that we went around there is, one is the weather. Two, it's a 2-hour flight to the valley. So in the same time zone. So I mean, we were in San Francisco. I've left in the morning, came home in the evening at many times. So that's why, it's proximity.
No, I definitely dig that. I'm in the same boat for that. I love the 1 day traveling, and you can get so much done at the same time. Well, so I guess the first company was was called Boom Music. Is that true?
You're DJing with DJ
Boom. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Well, where did you realize that, hey, you know what? DJing is only going to get me so far. This ticketing thing is kind of getting really interesting. When did you realize, hey, we got to quit DJing. We need to focus on that ticketing?
I guess it was one of these things where I kind of just sat to myself. I was like, well, why is this person, worth $1 billion and this one's worth $1 million? So I started taking a look at like market size and your catchment ratios, and started thinking about that space. And I was like, okay, well, wait a second here. Like, I mean, like, these folks aren't any smarter, I hope, than what I could learn. It's just, there's a magnitude of risk, different forcing function, ability to go out there and have access to capital, serendipitous moments by putting a whole bunch of smart people in different places. And I was like, well, listen, I got to get outside of this comfort zone. And I was like, well, I want to go out there and create something that I can sell to the world. And so that's really what it was. It was maybe just, shed a bit of modesty, is like maybe a little bit of ego that was like, hey, I think I can build something that the world's going to really like, which is, mixture of craziness. But like, that was really it. It was like, well, how can I raise that ceiling? And the Boom Music, we had a whole bunch of staff. It was very localized, and I just thought there was just more that I could go out there and bite or try naively. And I got beat up for it a lot along the way, because there's things I just didn't know, and I wasn't aware that it was going to be as hard as it was.
But so that is the mission of what we're doing here, though, to try to make that path for the next generation of Canadian entrepreneur that much easier. So thank you. We need you to share those bumps and bruises along the way, so we can make it easier for the next gen, right?
100%. I mean, absolutely. There's things that I wish I would have known. And the thing that I do now is if I can, I would want to be helpful. I want to go out there and create areas where people can go out there and connect, provide knowledge, and hopefully people aren't going to bang their heads as much as I did.
Very good. Yeah. So Eventbrite, obviously, I mean, this is a world-class organization. When did they start showing up on your radar?
It was unique. We had, first of all, you're right with Eventbrite. It's a world-class organization. Absolutely. The founder, Julia, and her husband, they're just like a husband and wife team that run this company, and they built it up. And it was definitely something that, we partnered and we got acquired by the right people. And so lucky that we did. But it was unique. It was this, we have other people come in and we had other people kicking tires, and they come in and they'll have like their corp dev folks reach out to us, or different channels. This one was a unique one where the second in command just linked in me 8 months prior to it happening and said, "Hey, we should compare notes." And it was such this unorthodox way of doing it. I was like, "Yeah, let's compare notes." We ended up meeting, and it was unique. This guy's name's Randy. It was a beautiful experience. He was a ex-Wall Street guy, and you read his bio and it's from here to the ceiling. And then when I met him the first time, he had this Mickey Mouse t-shirt on, Super Valley style. I'm not sure if he was even wearing shoes, and there could have been a stain on it. It was just that good. Anyways, we met, and it was an 8-month roller coaster until we finally got acquired, and then we went public a month later, and I got to go out there and see that life cycle.
Very cool, very cool. So, and I assume you had to go down to the Valley often to meet with them. Did they ever come up here as well?
Yeah. That's, it was definitely a relationship aspect. So it was, again, this is the, again, naivety. I mean, these are things that they don't teach you in the school. And I was so naive and green to it, but I just, I thought there was going to be, a little bit of due diligence, and it'd be pretty simple. It was a lot of due diligence. And I didn't realize why, but now I do know, is like, because the company was going public, and then we found that later through. So I guess, they want to really making sure that there's no, dead skeletons in a newly acquired company that could jeopardize a share price, 6 weeks later. So that was good. But yeah, it was definitely, me going down there a lot. And then, that's keeping it private from the team. And then, they brought their whole executive team, which was, a whole bunch of folks come. We did a lot of dinners. Went up to Grouse and had dinner, and it was just nice. It's a journey. It's a big relationship, and it basically is a marriage, and that's what it felt like, and that's what we did.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, obviously you have to kind of keep this, at a certain level of executive, just in case it doesn't go anywhere, creates rumors and all that. But how is when you told the team, "Hey, there's an acquisition, it's a great company," what was the response?
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, it's like when you end up having this big, which is effectively the David, and then, or the Goliath and David, I don't know, the big one. Yeah. It's, at the beginning I could hide it. I could hide it well, in the sense like, and as a CEO and a founder, you really want to be careful, because one is that how are you going to go out there and spend your time? Two is like, if you end up going down this route and they don't acquire you, what type of signaling does that do internally to your team, in terms of like, what's wrong with our company? Did I choose the wrong bet with, being with this startup? And so there's that. And as you get along, and then you start doing the due diligence, you start bringing in more and more team. And then when they show up, in their whole executive team, and they're all wearing their logos and stuff like that, the cat's out of the bag, in terms of like, okay, what's going on? Like, why is all these closed door meetings? Why is everyone? And then, but I will tell you is, we definitely celebrated well, and they were extremely excited when it came through.
Fantastic and well-deserved celebration with you and the team. I remember I used to have to go down to Slack's office down in San Francisco, and I think at the old office, I think they actually shared with Eventbrite, didn't they? Down on, was it 6th, or I can't remember what first. I can't remember what the road was in San Francisco, but I remember thinking, that's so cool that Eventbrite's right here. I got to go up to the 6th floor. I think they ended up taking up like 3/4 of the building before they took over the building. But did you ever accidentally go into Slack and take over their socks? Because they gave away socks. It was really cool.
I actually had a few pair of their socks, and I should have gone into Slack, but I never did. I mean, I always just went straight into the Eventbrite space. I mean, it's a pretty neat space there, so there's a lot to do inside there. But yeah, I should have, I could have. There's just a lot of offices that you end up going. It's usually Friday after drinks, and you end up popping into one or another while you're down there. But yeah, I didn't make it there.
Well, that's the fun thing about San Francisco, is it's like, or the Valley for that. Like you go, oh, I know that one. I know that one. I know that one. I'm probably going to know about that one. It really is the epicenter. It's different from here or even Toronto, in the sense of it feels like you're collecting, hockey cards. I'll use a Canadian one. You feel like you're collecting hockey cards, traveling around going, I want to be in that office. I want to see this place. I want to see that. But I have not been into Eventbrite space. I suppose I need to do that. Well, here's a question. Did you ever conceive of Eventbrite as a competitor, or did you see them as, hey, this is the acquisition journey we want to go towards? Like, at what point?
Staunch competitor.
Competitor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it's, from just, there's nobody else that we wanted to beat. There's nobody else that we wanted to go out there. And obviously they were the biggest in the play, in the market. And for us, it was really, really somebody that we wanted to go after. Pragmatically, I knew that we weren't going to be a public play. The way I look at it is startups are built to fail. If you're lucky, you may get an acquisition. If you're a unicorn, you're going to go public, and there's going to be liquidity for everybody and their pets, kind of thing. So I knew that was from the venture map, that's probably in likelihood of statistically that was going to happen. Didn't know that it was going to be in Eventbrite. If there was a wish, that would have been the wish.
I'm glad.
And again, once we started peeling the onion and we started to get to know each other, we realized. And here's the thing, the way I look at it is, you're going to have more in common with your competitors than you are going to have with, obviously there's going to, with any other business out there. You're in the same world, you're going to train the same way, you're going to talk the same way, you're going to know the same information. I think about rowing, these rowers are all there. They're the same breed, same people, same tribe. Once we started getting in the same room with each other, it was like, holy macros. It was like we were lost cousins or something like that. We were gelled extremely well. And so that's what I was really happy, because, like the team that joined us and went through, and these are people that have came across the world, sold homes, given away their dogs in order to go out there and see this vision come through. You want to make sure your team's landing in a good spot, and they landed in a great spot.
Fantastic. You got to take care of everyone, right? I mean, it's a team win when you all win. Well, how did they, right after the acquisition, how did that change the company?
Oh, in a massive way. I mean,
I'd imagine.
Yeah. I mean, initially it didn't change too much, in the sense like, but there's this cognitive load of really going out there and like the mothership. You're going in from sort of like a flatter-key environment, extremely startup-y, to going into sort of, a puzzle now, where you end up having a corporate structure. It's going to a public company. So there is a transitioning in terms of, okay, what talent, where do they fit in? And so there is definitely a lot in terms of just operational aspects in order to go out there and get up to speed. That was interesting to figure out. But yeah, no, it was really unique and different. And there's a lot of rules. Like, for example, for myself, I'm used to being able to go, and this was the most frustrating part of the whole entire aspect, is the company was going public, so we couldn't do a lot of press on the acquisition. Secondly, is that during that time when you do the acquisition, the community wants to celebrate. Our Vancouver community it's beautiful. It is, it's tight, it's grown in such a great, beautiful way. And, like you said, you said, Chris, you came out, you're one of our early adopters and you helped us. And then all of a sudden they want to have you speak, or they want you to end up going out there and I couldn't do any of that. So I was really tapered in terms of what I could speak, and I wanted to go out there and help the community and communicate with them. And it was like, no, it was tapered because we're a public company. You got to be careful. And that was the most challenging part of it, is not being able to give back the way that we wanted to. But now that's all changed, and we can talk about this, and hopefully there's going to be a few stories and some lessons that we can share, and hopefully it helps other folks along their journey. Fantastic.
Well, did they ever bluntly tell you why they wanted to acquire you? Like, what did they see as the value?
There's something that I think that, I would say that we really did well, is we built an API for events. So effectively, so we were like, we said, okay, the GA market, the general assembly market, in terms of going on there and setting up your own event and individuals putting on the 1 or 2 off events. So that's cool. But then we were like, okay, we have a software to software approach. We're going to go out there and really get after the developers. We felt like, okay, who's going to be in control of the stack? It's like, the engineers are, at the end of the day. You can have as much business folks come in and we can white paper that. If it's not going to go out there and, and it's going to create a whole bunch of, headache, and I think that we're going to get pushback. So how do we market to the engineers? How do we make their lives easy? Don't send them down rabbit holes. How do we make sure that you can see hello world really quickly, for them? And so that's what we decided to do. And then on top of that, we started partnering with Facebook, and we started partnering with Airbnb and all these different, and that's when we started to really get noticed. People started noticing us. And it was all sort of underneath the waterline, if you will, because we were like, okay, well, if we can do software and build, people can build on top of us, we're a lot rooted in, and we have a lot more defensibility, and all of a sudden now they're putting on thousands of beds instead of one or two.
Well, the API, I mean, that's the power, right? That's the scalability. That's the saying, hey, you don't have to come to my house. I'm going to go to your house, which I think is, the right way of looking at it. So I think that's cool. Well, here, Canadian company, did they ever have any trepidations, any concerns about dealing with someone in Vancouver, or was that not even mentioned?
Yeah, no, listen, we came down here. I had, the Vancouver, we had the Vancouver Economic Council. We had a whole bunch of folks come in and with their team and our team and kind of sell Vancouver in terms of that. And so they came in and talked about the benefits of Vancouver. We had accounting firms come through and talk about like the economic benefits around all the the taxation credits around that piece. So there is interpretation in terms of, okay, yeah, it's Canada, but like why Canada? Like where, is there perhaps maybe other teams that might be able to, this is now that I found out afterwards. So they did a lot of research around that piece, but inevitably, like, there's just so much benefit in order to setting up shop in Canada. As you can see, every big logo in tech has done it now, and they're seeing it.
Pretty much.
And so, yeah, it wasn't a hard sell by any means at the end of the day.
Well, I totally did that. And I love the fact I didn't even thought about that. But of course, there's all these great organizations, local organizations that are here to sing the hymns and praises of, the city and the opportunity here. Why not bring them into that conversation? Because, once they have Pika in their crown, and that is a feather in the crown, what else do they want that's from here? And what's the benefits? And, you should be, creating a multiplier effect, through these groups, because they love it too. So I'm gonna steal that from you. Honestly, I love that. I think anyone that's listening should be piggybacking on that.
Please do. And they're just, the resources they have and what they can put together. And there's like an arm's reach of somewhat unbiased information that they can provide, about the city, about the economic conditions, about, what the 10-year, 5-year, and, 20-year roadmap that we just don't have, we're not privy to, that they can bring out, which is just, and also, when you can bring those folks out and they're more than happy to come out, it just really strains like the fact that, okay, these folks they're supported by the community. And that's one of our competitive advantages, knowing that our community is so supportive, and there's a ton of people out there that are willing to help.
For sure. I can't tell you how often, and I'm sure you share this as well, that you're in the Valley, you're in San Francisco, and you mentioned you're from Vancouver, and the first thing they say is, "I love Vancouver." Like, so many people have come up here. It's a bit of a wonderful surprise, I got to say.
Yeah. It's again, I'm biased, but I've gone through living in all those other cities. It's a real special place. It's a real special place to live, and the community has definitely grown in the last 10 years. It's just getting more and more special.
Oh yeah, we're starting to get some anchors here, something that we really need. So I'm excited about the explosion of Adapter Labs or any of these things and what they're going to bring to the next chapter. I got to say, well, speaking of like the next chapter, tell me about Gunkii. Where did this come from? And this is a very different. This is a right turn from Pika. Tell me all about that.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I appreciate you asking. We haven't gone live with it yet, but maybe by the time that we air this, on 4/20 is when we're going to go live with a Kickstarter.
Good day.
But yeah, it's a very Vancouver day.
Very Vancouver day. No Snoop Dogg this year, but then we'll go with that.
Yeah. Basically, I was sitting at home post COVID, like all of us. We were sitting on our couch and just contemplating. Again, forcing functions of COVID gives you time to think, and realizing this is going to sound kind of a little meta, but I was kind of asking myself, who am I outside of being in the events world and a founder? And there's a lot of opportunity that was coming in. But I just like, okay, I'm going to take a breath. Realize that I didn't spend as much time as I should have with my son because I was running a startup, and I didn't spend as much time with my wife as I should have. And my wife realized that she has built a really successful business. She's a performance marketer, top 40 under 40,
Cool.
three undergrads, masters, all that other stuff. And she makes her clients millions and millions of folks. And I was like, hey, listen, I want to build another company. And so I was thinking about what are some of the forcing functions that are going to happen. And these are some bets I have outside of COVID. One is that we're going to rethink work, which I think it's going to be, the distributed team model in terms of, which is really kind of what tech was kind of already doing, but really akin to. I think that is going to be something that I really want to play in. And then e-com, fast forwarded a decade. I saw people like my parents who didn't have Facebook 4 years ago. They're buying things online now, which is neat. So I was like, I want to try and get into the CPG DTC market. And so there's one thing that I love is, and this is going to sound super weird and unique, but I love tongue scraping. And
Who
so
doesn't?
when you're,
Who doesn't?
well, these are the tongue scrapers. I got one here, but this is what we grew up. If you're an Indo-Canadian or Indian, it's broken right now. It's a little flimsy because they're kind of cheap, but this is what we grew up with from India.
Really?
And so it has product market fit in India. I've been doing it for the last 20 years. I got all my friends using them. So I told my wife, and my wife uses a tongue scraper, and I was like, hey, I want to build the world's sexiest tongue scraper. So long and short, we have since built the world's sexiest tongue scraper. So this is what it looks like.
Nice.
The packaging. So it's called Gunky. It's going to be launching in, like I said, in a couple of days, but it's beautifully engineered, from our standpoint. But yeah, there's a lot of engineering that goes into this, but this is what it is. It's a tongue scraper. And we hope that, the state of the world's relationship one breath at a time.
I love that. Well, so here we go. You showed me one that was, maybe you said it was broken, but it looked more like almost like a pick. That's a one-handed one. Now you've got a two-handed one with Gunky. Is that like maximum benefit of pull, or what's the engineering belief behind that?
I'll get a little bit geeky here, but we do have.
That's fine. We're getting geeky.
The porosity of the metal is, in order for it to be thin on top and have the rigidity, and the arm, we need to making sure that we can end up having the right porosity, the right cure rate, have it really sexy so that there's no lines around it, and have the flexibility so it doesn't break when you're going out there if you have a bigger or smaller mouth. There is so much engineering in something like this that it baffled me. Again, it's one of these dumbfounded things. You get into things and you're just like, it was not as easy as I thought it was. So this is what it is. So to have the arms and the arch, that's it. This one was the same way, but it was flimsy because it's all thin. Now, going back to your question, why did we want it? We wanted to go out there so that you have the right scrape. This is weird to talk about, but it's like having the right scrape, pressure per square inch on your tongue to get that layer of gunk, and it is disgusting, come off, and you see it and it's there. It's just, it works like a charm, and we're really thrilled about it.
Well, if you didn't have the right scrape, how could you ever say it's the sexiest tongue scraper in the world? So come on, we definitely understand that. Well, you touched a little bit about the next chapter besides, Gunky and, touching tongues. We'll leave that one out. But there's a post that we read on social media, and I just kind of want to touch on that because you shared regarding about the layoffs in March of 2020, of course, when, COVID just hit and it got a little crazy, but you focused on making sure the team was taken care of. Why did you think that was important? And was this something personal that you needed to do?
Yeah, I haven't really talked about it too much, and thank you for bringing it up. And definitely didn't do it to get any type of recognition or anything of that sort. But when you're starting a startup, again, like I mentioned, often my belief is startups are meant to fail, and that means that there's people that are jumping on board and they're in the prime of their lives to really go out there and go after a vision that you've created. And these are people, like I mentioned earlier, that we've had one that had to give a dog away, sell their house. Partners have had to get new jobs. People have crossed over many ponds in order to grow and be here. And when they are in a situation where they've championed you and they're around you as a leader, it has always been my idea as servitude. my job is to go out there and help bring the best out of you, bring alignment, and making sure that I'm serving you the best the way that I possibly can. And when we did the transition from our company and the acquisition, making sure that they were settled and they got the right position and the right career was important. And then all of a sudden, Eventbrite laid off 50% of its workforce, and we had to deprecate Canada. Those are my people. And so, and those are my people. And as much as we got acquired, I still feel responsible. And it was, I wanted to go out there and use every power that I potentially had in order to go out there and make sure that they found employment and gainful employment. And I'm happy to let you know that everyone found a place and they landed, where they needed to be. And it worked out extremely well, because it was a really touchy time at that transition point.
I bet. And especially, I understand, in the perspective of the company, in the sense of it's an event company, and that's, one of the industries that got hit the hardest. You need to think about the bottom line, but you need to think about employees. Like one of the things I think that was most proud out of March, well, two thoughts on this, because I agree. When we had to all of a sudden, fly from the coop of this office to working from home, one of the first things we did is we, figured out, well, what's the runway? Like, where, say everything drops off the face of the earth, what's the runway that we can do? And secondly, whose jobs are probably going to be less important in the remote world as opposed to the local world? Our front desk person, for example, okay, who's fantastic. How do we train them up to be something that, is going to create value? And so we spent time, okay, you're now doing HR with us, let's figure that out. But one of the things that I think was important in terms of community, and I think, what leverages from what you're saying, is when things started happening and people were getting laid off en masse, and again, understandably with the fear and everything, is how many groups popped up, run by, I can't remember. It's kind of like the Vivian Chan's groups, or, these sort of things, where they had these spreadsheets across Canada, an Excel or a Google Doc that was like, here's the people that just got laid off. Here's the skill, find them jobs. And I remember looking at them going, oh, we'll take 3 of them. We'll take, this and other people too. And it was like, it felt so comfortable to know that people really did care. And, because I think it is important. Exactly what you said. I think it's so important to take care of everyone, because they're the ones who are going to take care of you. So anyhow, I'm babbling, but I really respected that message that you stated, and I share and treasure it in the very same way, that we need to take care of everyone. And I think as Canadians, we are looking to do that. I get called a socialist a lot of times, especially down in the States, especially for my Texas kin in the States. And you know what my answer is? Yeah, right. We are. We take care of each other because that's important. So. Well, tell you what, just give me one piece of advice for that young individual, that young lady, the young man who is just about to start off in the entrepreneurial world of a startup. What's one piece of advice you can give them?
Oh man, I'll sing this from the rooftops in terms of advice that I'd give young entrepreneurs. Number one is failure is just a data point. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to romance failure, but it is the recipe in order to success. And understand that failure is a data point. The highs aren't going to be as high as the lows aren't going to be as lows. And as you get used to it and becoming more akin to failure, you're going to realize that new comfort zone of working in failure is where you're going to have probably your biggest growth, your biggest epiphanies, your biggest movements. So I encourage you to understand and appreciate and perhaps if you're not really comfortable with failure, is really redefine that relationship with it, because my new comfort zone is uncomfortability. And that's generally because I know that I'm really growing and developing. And it's tough, and it's there's nothing easy about it, and there is no easy button about it. So that would be the one thing. Mixed with the next piece is that invest in yourself and continue to become a lifelong learner. I've never gone wrong with investing in myself. Getting a degree, I have one. That is maybe just a stepping stone in terms of where I am and where I'm going. And so I think in humans, and this is just, it's not proven, but the way I look at it is, what year am I going to plateau where I'm just like, okay, I have stopped forwardly progressing to a point where like I am just regressing in terms of my knowledge, in terms of new new ability to create. But the point being back to it is that if you continually invest in yourself and you continually, that's a tool that nobody that can take away from you. And you're just gonna go out there and create opportunity for opportunity that is crazy. And those are the things that I'd recommend to entrepreneurs specifically. And so yeah, hopefully that's helpful.
Love it.
And I wear my failures with a badge of honor. Like they're just, I will talk about them and they're proud. They're proud. I failed a lot.
Scars make you stronger, right? Scars make you stronger. So, hey, Jayesh, this was so much fun. I got to say, I really enjoyed it. Did you want to say again, when is, so on April 20th on Kickstarter, we're going to see Gunky?
Yeah, April 20th on Kickstarter. Anybody out there that is interested to go out there and take some disgusting stuff. If you only knew what was on there, and if you don't know what we're talking about, it is disgusting. We call it disgustingly satisfying. You could come on there. We'd love your support. It takes a community to get us going, and it's something that we're really appreciative, and we'll thank you in advance if you do help us.
Fantastic. And you know what? The next, I'm going to have to get one myself, and I'm going to have my paneer tikka masala, which is my favorite meal as a hardcore vegetarian that I am, and I'm going to scrape it after. And I think it's just going to be nirvana. So I'm very excited about that. But Jayesh, thank you so much. Good luck with the next chapter. And, let's stay in touch, because honestly, I know you're going to create bigger and better things. And I'm really excited about the learnings that you shared with us today. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Great chatting with you.
Cheers.